fakes, cheats, liars!
That's a typical mid-60s suburban house. He's dressed like Abraham Lincoln. He just got shot and he's returning fire with what looks like an 1876 Colt revolver. But it's going to get even weirder. Mr. Lincoln is riding a horse through suburban Los Angeles. He's getting the kinds of looks you'd expect, but he doesn't care. He has a destination in mind, and as the old Hollywood saying goes, he's hell-bent for leather to get there. I figure the leather part is talking about the saddle. I'm not so sure about the rest of it. And if he is Abraham Lincoln, it's nice that somebody took the time to explain traffic lights to him.
Cool it, Bruce. It's all in the same family.
President.
You figured he was going where?
President Lincoln, Fort Sierra, Washington, Friday night. Box number 3. No, it's wrong. We gotta stop it.
President Lincoln assassinated.
Yes, it was very wrong, but you're a little late, dude. In more ways than one.
He didn't just stumble in here, Sam. He had one of our cards on him. That means he's a client. Was. Or wanted to be. I don't know who he is. Was. All he had on him was one of our cards. No, of course he was wearing clothes. Sam, will you stop arguing and get over here? I'll call them when you get here.
So he's not actually Lincoln come through a time warp. There's no way to know how he got one of their cards, but at least we understand why he came to her first. What he was trying to tell her about the paper is anybody's guess.
My, look at this. Artemis House. Oyster and steak dinner, 27 cents. 3 courses. Oh, don't tell me those were the good old days.
Sounds like it, right? Until you realize that in 1865, $1 a day was big wages. Lots of people want to go back to the prices of the past, but they want to keep their modern day wages. 27 cents for a 3-course meal sounds great until you remember that I would have been feeding my family of 5 on an average of $12 a week. If they all got that meal, that's $1.35, which is over 10% of my paycheck. In other words, if she makes $1,000 a week today, that meal would cost well over $100. Kind of puts things in perspective. Oh, and honey won't have to call the police.
That's your horse parked outside?
Horse?
A horse.
Maybe it belongs to one of my clients.
You gotta get him off the street. He's causing a traffic jam.
He's hitched to a fence on the sidewalk. How's he causing a traffic jam? And by the way, Bruce is the closest thing to a horse that we keep around here. Needless to say, he noticed the body on the floor, even though they made a fairly lame attempt to hide it.
Well, doesn't look like he'll have much use for his horse anymore, does he?
Wasn't it lucky you showed up, officer? I was just going to call the police.
His name was Paul Wycherley.
The antiquarian?
If he's into antiques, that could explain why he was dressed the way he was, but riding a horse in Los Angeles is taking it a bit far.
He was a bit of an eccentric. Didn't believe in automobiles, telephones. Always kept a horse. Sometimes even dressed in the period.
Eccentric means he was also wealthy. If he was just a regular guy, the lieutenant would have said nutcase. He was a scholar on Lincoln in his own right. He has one living relative, a brother named Conrad, who lives in San Francisco.
Seems he's kind of eccentric, too. Hipped on Scotland. Always wears those,
Kilts?
kilts. Kilts.
And unfortunately, someone had to inform him that his brother got killed.
Why didn't you tell him about that newspaper?
Well, he never asked me. Besides, I sent it to an expert taking testing aid.
What kind of test?
To make sure it is a Washington Star of 1865.
There's nothing to do but head back to the office and wait for the results.
Miss Honey West?
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Sorry, but you're illegally parked. I'm going to have to give you a ticket. Oh, no need to stare. This is the new uniform. It's what all the well-dressed Los Angeles police officers are wearing this year.
Forgive this rather unconventional introduction. I'm Conrad Wycherley, Paul Wycherley's brother.
I thought you might be.
Just to remove any doubts you may have about my identification, my driving license.
He sure is eager to establish his identity. I have to wonder why. It's like he expects her to be suspicious.
Would you be good enough to run me to my hotel? We can talk on the way.
Be my guest.
Thank you.
And he's right, she's suspicious. That switch means Sam can hear their conversation from the van. As quick as Wycherley says what hotel, Sam heads there as well.
Should we take the high road or the low road?
Boy, tough car. He starts asking if his brother had anything with him when he came to her office. He says Paul's house had been thoroughly searched, but I have a feeling they didn't find what they were looking for. Honey says, nope, he didn't have anything, didn't give me anything. I'm afraid I'm not much help.
Why didn't you tell him about that newspaper? And don't say he didn't ask you, because I heard him.
I'll tell you back at the office.
Because she doesn't believe him, that's why. And it's clear the feeling is mutual.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Miss Honey West,
Yes.
I hope you'll forgive my rather unusual introduction. I'm Conrad Wycherley, Paul Wycherley's brother.
I thought you might be.
Well, to remove any doubt about my identity, allow me to show you my driver's license.
The exact same speech the other Conrad made, and he'll continue essentially the same speech in line of questioning while Honey drives him to his hotel. Different hotel, by the way. It's pretty clear somebody wants that paper awful bad. Maybe multiple somebodies.
Well, one of them was a phony, that's for sure.
I don't know, maybe they both were. There's someone to see you.
Don't tell me.
He's waiting inside.
Miss Honey West?
I know, you're Conrad Wycherley, Paul Wycherley's brother.
At least he had the courtesy to come to her office, and there's something different about him. He's not making the same speech.
Why, yes, I am. Now, how did you happen to know that?
Oh, just a wild guess. Now, what can we do for you?
Well, I have reason to believe that when my unfortunate brother came here the night of his death, he may have been carrying something.
In fact, he's not even doing the accent. He has a slight southern drawl. He goes on to describe the newspaper in perfect detail. He says, it's missing from my brother's effects.
Did that newspaper belong to you, Mr. Wycherley?
In a manner of speaking, I was going to buy it as part of a Lincoln collection. I'd sent it to my brother for his expert opinion.
That's a very different story than the other guys told, and it's just tame enough to be true. Does he have any identification?
Do you happen to have a driver's license?
Oh, I'm afraid I don't drive an automobile, Miss West.
The other two couldn't wait to shove their driver's licenses in her face, but based on what the lieutenant told him, this guy is most likely the real Conrad.
I'm sorry we can't help you about that newspaper.
That's quite all right, sir. Now, I just thought maybe my brother might have left it with you. I just can't think what could have happened to it. Good day, Miss West. Good day, sir.
And unlike the other two, he's not upset or angry, just puzzled.
Did you get a photostat copy of a Washington Star for April 15th, 1865?
From the historical library, maybe, yeah.
Try it, will you, Sam? I'll meet you back here.
And where are you going?
you get the results on those newspaper tests I was talking about?
And that stamp she was licking, once she gets the results, she'll put the newspaper in the envelope and mail it to herself. That way nobody can take it from her by force or otherwise. Her expert says, according to all my tests, this paper is authentic. And to a collector, it's probably worth at least 50 grand. How can he tell?
The isotope of carbon-14 is very unstable.
Oh,
Much more so than the other isotope, carbon-12.
really?
Oh, yes. So that over a period of years, the atomic structure of carbon-14, you see, it gradually changes until the matter concerned contains a higher proportion of the stable isotope 12. And then from this, we can determine the age of the matter.
We hear about carbon dating all the time these days. It had been around since the 1940s, but the technology to use it as a measurement of age pretty well had to be invented as they went along. The earliest machines were clunky at best and had to use detectors to measure specific particles that were released from the carbon-14. Now, particles like that are flying all over the place all the time, so that meant the thing doing the counting had to be surrounded by a bunch of other counters that could intercept the rogue particles and keep the counter from counting them. Since about the 90s, that method has been abandoned, and now we have machines that can actually count the carbon-14 atoms in a sample and give us more accurate readings. But even the clunky old machines revolutionized our understanding of our planet and the universe. Now, is it possible to make a fake item that can fool even the carbon-14 equipment?
Oh, gosh, no. Well, and unless somebody has discovered a way of radioactively aging matter, and nobody has.
Well, so much for that. The paper is real and worth enough that at least 3 guys are after it.
Boy, was he wrong.
Who?
Whoever said as worthless as yesterday's newspaper?
Oh, yeah, him.
Don't quit your detective job, honey. That's 2 in a row that fell flat.
It isn't groceries I've got in this bag, Miss West. Keep walking, please. To that gray car over there.
Dude, it's just bad comedy. No need to get so uptight about it. Maurice Dallimore made a career of playing the Englishman's Englishman with the big mustache, near incomprehensible accent, the whole bit. We know him as Superintendent Watson in the Londinium episodes of Batman in season 2. He had a good thing going, but was cut down at the age of 61 by a liver disease called Lennox cirrhosis. It's sometimes caused by alcohol abuse, but most often something else causes it. I haven't been able to find anything else about the circumstances surrounding him and the disease, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume one of the other causes. He's sure putting in a stellar performance here. Good thing Honey's necklace is also a microphone.
Oh, hello. I didn't recognize you at first without your kilt.
Should have.
If you've been around since the beginning of my Batman reviews or thereabouts, you might remember Leonid Kinski from the first episode of Hogan's Heroes. He was born in St. Petersburg and fled Russia after the Communist Revolution. He eventually found his way to the United States and became a fairly successful character actor. He only lasted 1 episode of Hogan's Heroes because he decided he couldn't handle the idea of Nazis being funny. Truth be told, he didn't think it could be done. It leaves me wondering why he took the role in the first place, but sometimes you never know what you're going to be able to deal with until you get into it. As we know, Hogan's Heroes went on to become an American icon and one of the most effective anti-war shows ever. But they did it without him, and I respect his choice. Now I wonder why he seemed so nervous when Honey mentioned his kilt.
Isn't it pretty up here in Maple Heights?
Shut up and keep walking.
You planning to buy this house?
Okay, that's enough. I told you to shut up.
Oh, she's not talking to you. She's talking to Sam. Necklace microphone. Good thing he doesn't know that. And Sam got the message. He's on his way. Though he may be a little later than he planned. Should have waited for Sam. English Conrad wants to show her a machine he's invented.
Ponce de Leon spent years searching for the fountain of youth. This machine has exactly the opposite effect. It produces instant old age.
It changes the isotope of carbon-14.
How did you know that?
She's a girl. She's not supposed to know science stuff. Now, we learned in that other guy's office that she has no idea what any of that means, but it's enough to throw him off a little. So what exactly does it do?
My partner here can vouch that I'm telling the truth. He had a slight accident with the machine some time ago. Roger, show the lady your hand.
If she doesn't tell him where the paper is, he'll point that thing at her and turn her into Aunt Hagatha. I hope I don't have to point out that especially in the 60s, it would have required a room-sized cyclotron to bombard enough atoms to create a higher level of carbon-14 in something. And even then, it wouldn't have that sort of visual effect on the body. Not to mention, to make this happen, you would have to put the person inside the cyclotron where all the radiation is bombarding, which means they would not come out alive. So if he does point it at her and age her, and he's not pinpoint careful about how long he points it at her, he'll end up with a pile of dust and no newspaper. He may need to give this plan a little more thought.
How would you like to have your whole face look like that, Miss West?
Not only will it make you wrinkle and shrivel, your face will grow fingers. It takes the machine 2 minutes to warm up. That's how long she has to tell them.
Is your name Roger?
What about it?
Well, you told me it was Conrad Wycherly.
Shut up.
You didn't know that, did you?
I told you to shut up.
You're the most monotonous man. All you ever say is shut up.
What do you mean? He told you his name was Conrad Wycherly.
Well, you're not the only one who dressed up in a kilt. Your friend Roger did, too.
He wasn't supposed to do that, and Conrad British wasn't supposed to know he did. Meanwhile, as we saw, Honey's ring has a little something extra in it.
You did? Why?
Don't listen to her.
I wondered why, too. Perhaps he wanted the newspaper all to himself.
You were going to blackmail me.
Don't be ridiculous.
That's not ridiculous. He could blackmail you if he had the newspaper. He could wreck the whole deal with Conrad Wycherly, and he could hold you up for more than his share of the $500,000.
It's a good thing Honey is fluent in the dialect of honor among thieves.
She's lying. She's lying. I never dressed up in any kilt.
For heaven's sake, just look at his socks. I saw him when I got in the car. He's still wearing his long Scottish socks.
Let's put the lamp on her now.
No! First of all, show me those socks.
She's also a lot more observant than either of them is.
All right. I pretend that I'm Conrad Wycherly, but I didn't try to cheat you. It was just a protection.
Protection against what?
You, in case you tried to cheat me out of my share.
She had that ring with the acid in it the whole time, so I'm not sure why she tried to fight them when she lost the necklace. In any case, gadgets save the day.
You fool! You stupid fool! You risked the whole plan!
Drop him.
His machine does more than create higher carbon-14 levels, and it can do it to non-organic matter. Carbon-14 only affects organic things, which is to say stuff that's alive, or at least used to be. If that floor is alive, I think I'd get out of there quick. I guess she heard me. She's getting out of there quick. He's checking out the other house for sale. Or maybe that other one. Or that other one over there. Or the...
They're all for sale.
Yeah, that one right there. Since he has a gun, let's go take care of these guys. Unfortunately, they're gone, and so is the machine. But the existence of that machine proves the paper is a forgery.
That's what Paul Wycherly was trying to tell you before he died.
He found something in that paper that proved it was a forgery. He was trying to bring it to us for evidence.
Well, you've got the paper. We're in good shape.
Because they know that I know that they know that I know. And they're going to try to close that deal with Paul Wycherly's brother right away.
That's why they wanted to get the paper back so badly. They're the ones offering that big collection of Lincoln memorabilia that the real Conrad mentioned. In fact, they're at his place right now.
I must say, these letters have passed every scientific test. They certainly appear genuine.
To think that they were left wrapped up in an old newspaper in an attic trunk for all these years. Must be the collector's find of the century.
The love letters of Abraham Lincoln to Anne Rutledge.
The story goes that Anne Rutledge was Abraham Lincoln's first love. As the tale is told, they were deeply in love, and when she died of typhoid in 1835, he was devastated. About 4 years later, he met a young socialite named Mary Todd and seems to have gotten over his devastation. He married her in 1842. The Anne Rutledge tale came from one guy after Lincoln's assassination, and apparently the guy dreamed it up and publicized it just to annoy Mary Todd Lincoln because he couldn't stand her. Granted, by this time, most people couldn't stand her, but that's not important right now. The best historians I was able to find think he did this because he hated her and wanted her to suffer. Lincoln did correspond with Anne Rutledge, but what we have are friendly letters, nothing more, and one historian said they got more and more formal as time went on, and eventually they just quit writing. Who knows what the story behind that is, but we won't find it in the letters these two are peddling.
Must be worth $500,000 easily.
Well, I certainly am anxious to buy them, but...
Well, then, what are we waiting for?
Well, you see, sir, that newspaper, that Washington Star that announced Lincoln's death, is wrapped around these letters. Well, I'd sent it to my unfortunate brother to see if he thought it was genuine, but before he could give me his historical opinion...
Have you got that newspaper?
No, sir, I haven't.
They're sure that common burglars killed his brother and stole the newspaper, but these letters are worth the price even without the newspaper. He cashed that check and has $500,000 in cash in a suitcase under the bed. I want to see a picture of the teller's face when they had to count it out to him.
Don't!
What?
It's a forgery, everything.
Even their driver's licenses.
That newspaper.
Oh, you got it?
No, but tomorrow's mail. I mailed it to myself.
Oh, I'm afraid
What was
I-
the number of the box that President Lincoln was killed in?
Number 3. Right.
Oh, that's right, honey. I read the same thing in the Washington Star. It was box number 3.
Well, of course it was number 3.
No, it wasn't. That's why Paul Wycherly knew it was a forgery.
According to that photostat that Sam got of the real 1865 paper, it was box 8. It seems to me if Conrad is that into all things Lincoln, he would have already known that. Sam looked like he wasn't expecting to get shot at by a bad guy who's holding a gun. They'll take care of the bad guys while Conrad gathers up his cash.
Isn't it lucky you showed up, officer? We were just going to call the police.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Why is he there?
Lincoln was sitting in box number 8. Now, how did you know that?
I told you I read Paul Wycherly's book, Lincoln's Last Hours. My, listen to this. Washington Fish House, lobster dinner, French fries, and apple pie, 23 cents.
Well, at those prices, I'll take you both to dinner.
Oh, last of the big spenders. Come on, let's go.
All right. Now what are you going to do with this horse?
They're not going to do anything with it because it doesn't belong to them, genius. In fact, it looks like you've been in charge of it most of this time. As we're told, possession is 9/10 of the law, so guess what? He's your horse and your problem. Good day, officer. Returning fire with what looks like an 1876 not sick. He was born in St. Peter. Not only will it make you... His machine does more than create hybrid... One word at a time. Station. He married her and... crap. Remember the line.